Part 12. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 112. Under the leadership of the old dragon Aana, the entire dragon palace bowed respectfully. The spirit ship floated slowly, supported by Chu Qingyu's terrifying spiritual power. This spirit ship was enough to accommodate everyone who came from Tianyun Palace. In the small room of the spirit ship. Don't move, let me see. Chu Qingyu tightly grasped Nai Chen, who was trying to escape, and gently injected spiritual energy into his body. Sure enough, the injuries on your body. Chu Qingyu frowned slightly, and a trace of worry appeared on her beautiful face. Although Nai Chen pretended to be calm on the surface. In the fight with Emperor Lei Yan, he did suffer a lot of hidden injuries. Many meridians were broken, and the organs in his body were damaged on a large scale. After all, he was facing a great emperor, even if Emperor Lei Yan was seriously injured at that time. The dying struggle still burst out with terrifying strength. Even if it was only the aftermath of the interweaving of spiritual power, Nai Chen's serious injuries were already considered light. Chu Qingyu brushed Nai Chen's bruised back gently. Although she wanted to pretend to be calm, there was still a hint of heartache on her cheek. Just sit still and I'll heal you, she said in a cold voice. It's okay, my wife, don't worry about it. It's just some minor injuries. For me. Sit still and don't move. Chu Qingyu's voice revealed an irresistible determination. Nai Chen smiled and said nothing more. Although these hidden injuries are indeed very serious, in fact, as long as you exchange a big recovery technique in the system mall, it will be enough to completely heal them. But now, he has no intention of doing so. After all, his wife's jade-like hand is behind his back, and the soft and cool touch comes from it, which is very comfortable. Chu Qingyu does not know any healing techniques, but the spiritual energy in his body is pure and majestic. The endless spiritual energy was injected into Nai Chen's body. Even though he was seriously injured, the wounds in his body began to recover at a very fast speed the moment he came into contact with the spiritual energy. There was a very comfortable feeling. Nai Chen sighed. Wife, your technique is great. Wife, you are so durable. Wife, I feel very comfortable, why don't you touch me for a while longer? After a while, Chu Qingyu patted Nai Chen's back with resentment and retracted her jade hand. Nai Chen turned around with a playful smile. Wife, you are so worried about my injury, you really still love me. Tisk, if it weren't for your meritorious service in killing Emperor Lei Yan, I wouldn't bother to care about you. Chu Qingyu's cheeks were slightly red, and she lifted the clothes on Nai Chen's back. For some reason, that broad back always made her feel extremely safe. For a moment, she even wanted to lean on Nai Chen's back and have a good sleep. Oh, by the way, my wife, you healed me, shouldn't I repay you? At this moment, Nai Chen suddenly came over. The room on the spirit ship was small, and when he came over, the two of them were almost tightly pressed together. The four looked at each other, and the temperature in the small space seemed to rise slightly. Chu Qingyu's heartbeat accelerated instantly. Be honest, there are all disciples of Tianyun Hall outside. So what if they are disciples of Tianyun Hall? The more people there are, the more excited I am. Besides, my relationship with the Empress will be made public sooner or later anyway. The worst thing is to let them know that I am the husband of the Empress now. Nai Chen smiled. Not only did he not retreat, but he came closer. On the spirit ship, Shen Kongshuang was staying with Ao Lan. The two of them had met for the first day, but they were having a lot of fun. The eyes of many disciples were attracted. It must be admitted that although the saint envoy Kongshuang was more ruthless than anyone else when he killed people, but on weekdays, she is not at all arrogant. Especially when she is with Ao Lan at this moment, the two of them are laughing and talking happily, but they feel a little silly. But suddenly, Shen Kongshuang, who was having fun with Ao Lan, suddenly paused. "Sister Kongshuang, what's wrong?" Ao Lan noticed her strange look and asked curiously. "Shen Kongshuang, suddenly I feel my DNA moving." "DNA?" Swish. Shen Kongshuang grabbed Ao Lan, and her figure turned into a sharp shadow, and in a blink of an eye she came to the room where Chu Qingyu was. But when she pulled the door handle, she was stunned. The wooden door was locked tightly, and even with extremely powerful spiritual power, even she couldn't open it at all. Shen Kongshuang stood in front of the door with some grievance, always feeling that she had missed something important again. Every cell in her body seemed to tell her to open this door, open this door. It's a pity that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open it at all. I could only stand outside and hear the faint hum sound coming from inside. I don't know how long it took, accompanied by a crisp creaking sound, the wooden door finally opened. Chu Qingyu walked out slowly, but there was still a blush on her cheeks that had not completely dissipated. "Empress, why is your face a little red?" Shen Kongshuang stood in front of the door and asked curiously. Chu Qingyu stared at her coldly. "You were the one who wanted to open the door just now. If I hadn't been prepared and set up restrictions in advance, I'm afraid." It's me." "No, it's not me." Shen Kongshuang suddenly realized that something was wrong, and felt a chill on her back. She hurriedly waved her hands to explain. "It's really not my fault. I didn't mean to open the door just now, but my hands were out of control." "Ah, Queen, please don't. Queen, please spare me." But soon, Shen Kongshuang was grabbed by the heels and dragged on the ground. No matter how pitifully she cried, it was of no use. Before the door was about to close, a figure quickly flashed out from it. Immediately afterwards, crisp clapping sounds came from the room. "Hey, why are you in the Queen's room? Also, what are the Queen and the others doing?" Seeing that the figure that flashed out of the room quickly was Nai Chen, Ao Lan asked in confusion. Human habits are so weird that she couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought. But suddenly, a light bulb went off in her mind. "The elder told me that a man who secretly hides in a woman's room is having an affair. You are not having an affair with the Empress, are you? I'm stealing your head. You are a good kid but you don't learn well. Also, what weird things did your elder teach you?" Nai Chen knocked Ao Lan on the head, and Ao Lan burst into tears in pain. Nai Chen instructed word by word. "I've told you so many times, I went to the Empress's room to discuss the origin of life with her." "Oh." Ao Lan nodded, "But what is Sister Kongshuang doing in there now?" "They? Maybe, they are also discussing the origin of life." Nai Chen was a little embarrassed. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 113. The spirit boat arrived at Tianyun Palace. After the disciples who stayed behind learned that Emperor Lei Yan had been killed, they were all excited. After all, that is a great emperor. Being able to kill Emperor Lei Yan not only once again demonstrated the strength of Tianyun Palace, but also calmed down the anger in their hearts. Emperor Lei Yan deserves to die well. Especially Brother Nai, who dealt the final blow to Emperor Lei Yan, was like a heifer flying on a plane. After all, even if Emperor Lei Yan was seriously injured, they could not imagine how Nai Chen could kill an emperor. Nai Chen quietly slipped into Chu Qingyu's palace again. Killing Emperor Lei Yan this time gave him a further understanding of the emperor's strength. The strength of each great emperor can be described as terrifying. Even if he succeeded in killing the turtle grandson with the help of Bayu Dharma and 3 consecutive strikes. But if you want to compete with the emperor head-on, you must improve your strength as soon as possible. After all, the other 2 great emperors who have been coveting Tianyun Palace for a long time are still planning what they are doing now. As for how to improve strength, That must be the first step to take advantage of the empress. After all, the wool on the queen's body is of the highest quality. What are you going to do? Seeing a subtle smile on Nichan's lips, he raised his hands and stepped closer. Chu Qingyu immediately realized something was wrong. Don't be afraid, honey, you will feel very comfortable. Nichan pressed forward step by step. After another period of practice, his shoulder rubbing technique became even more refined. Reach the pinnacle, unparalleled in the world. No one can match Nichan's shoulder rubbing technique throughout the past and present. Chu Qingyu's delicate ears were as red as a gold ingot. Don't come here, you're so presumptuous. Honey, you are so outspoken. Have you forgotten last time? Last time. Chu Qingyu tried her best to get rid of the thoughts in her heart. Nichan's shoulder rubbing technique was indeed refreshing, but this too undermined his power as the empress. However, in just a moment of confusion, Nichan's hands were already on her soft shoulders. Yazudi. Successfully harvest the queen's wool and receive rewards. Successfully harvest the queen's wool and receive rewards. Get a lot of wool and get a system gift package. Successfully made the powerful emperor distracted and confused, and obtained a mysterious treasure chest. In the palace, only his voice was heard, but his person was not seen. 2 hours later, Chu Qingyu's slim figure was leaning on the seat, her delicate body was soft and she seemed to have completely lost her strength. The snow-white skin is secreted with crystal-clear fragrant sweat. Nichan moved his wrist and walked out of the palace. The technique of rubbing shoulders is so terrifying. If one day I leave this world, I must pass on this technique first. In a distant extremely cold place, frost and snow are flying. Emperor Lei Yan was actually killed. Even Rong Yuanbei. That woman. Boom. The sharp feathers swung down and cut off a towering iceberg in an instant. The man with wings on his back, eyes full of endless anger, and murderous intent exuding from his body was none other than Emperor Fiyu. Emperor Yushin was speechless and finally sighed. We have indeed followed Empress Qingyu's instructions. However, although Lei Yan was killed, the plan was not broken. As he spoke, he faced the void and shook his hand. The thunder cage floated up, and the person locked in it was the old dragon king Aogu, who was covered in strange blood streaks and was almost dying. If we can awaken it, even without Emperor Lei Yan, we will be able to easily destroy Tianyun Palace and completely obliterate Empress Qingyu. Yes, if we can wake him up. Ha ha ha. Emperor Fiyu's eyes were full of madness and he laughed hysterically. This crazy look is completely inconsistent with his pair of holy wings. Emperor Fiyu's whole body was filled with violent aura and murderous intent. With every strike of his sword, glaciers collapsed and huge waves surged into the sky. Empress Qingyu, you have caused my Dao foundation to almost collapse and make me unable to make any progress. I will definitely avenge the great revenge committed 100 years ago. Tianyun Palace, and you, are all going to die. Emperor Yushin didn't seem to be interested in paying attention to the nearly crazy Emperor Fiyu, but instead fixed his gaze tightly on Aogu's broken body. A bloody aura slowly flowed out from his body and merged into the thunder cage. The moment it came into contact with the blood marks on Aogu's body, the already weird aura became even more weird and unpredictable. But suddenly, Emperor Yushin suddenly looked at the ice surface only 100 meters away from him. Among the ice and snow, there grew a small pale white flower. The small flowers were crystal clear and exuded a faint coolness, so much so that they almost completely melted with the surrounding ice and snow. But no matter what happened, there should be no reason why I didn't notice it just now. Suddenly, Emperor Yushin suddenly realized that something was wrong. A spiritual blade slashed out from his fingertips, directly cutting the small crystal flower into 2 pieces. A fragrant scent floats in the cold wind, and the small flowers turn into glistening ice and snow, scattering with the wind. Holy Maid of Flowers, you dare to participate. Is it possible that you want to drag the entire Flower Holy Land into the abyss because of yourself? If you tell what happened today, when I wake up that existence, your Flower Holy Land will be destroyed together with Tianyun Palace. Emperor Yushin looked at the remnants of the little flower scattered by the wind, without concealing his murderous intention. How dare you, Saint Lady of Flowers! Emperor Fiyu stepped forward and crushed the remaining ashes of Xiao Hua. His eyes were filled with crazy killing intent. Even though the little flower has been shattered, it is still stepping on the glacier land crazily. Every step made the surrounding glaciers tremble. However, this little flower just dissipated in mid-air without any response. Sure enough, things are not as simple as imagined. These guys have already made up their mind to kill King Yu. A sacred place of flowers. The flower saint opened her eyes lightly, with a hint of worry in her beautiful eyes. What is the existence that can make Emperor Lei Yan summon his last strength even if he loses his life? If he hadn't successfully heard the conversation between Emperor Fiyu and Emperor Yushin. I'm afraid, I still don't know anything about this matter. Humph, Carrot, for the sake of our friendship over so many years, I will reluctantly help you. The flower saint snorted softly. Although King Yu has become more and more excessive during this period, and even deliberately made herself eat dog food like crazy. But Nai Chen's figure appeared in her mind, and she licked her lips lightly, her eyes full of charming charm. I really wonder what kind of expression King Yu would show if she took her husband away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 114. Dazzling, too dazzling. Looking at the treasure chests of all sizes in the sea of consciousness, Nai Chen felt a little overwhelmed. Sure enough, this moment of harvest is the most enjoyable time. Open. Open them all without leaving any. Click, click, click. The treasure chests opened one after another, emitting dazzling light. Huo, Golden Legend. Emperor Lei Yan is a powerful emperor after all. The treasure chest obtained by killing him is particularly precious. Thunder Step. A heavenly level skill, which can be called the highest body skill, can turn the body into a thunder shadow. Thunder Ring. Unlike different space rings, the space contained in it is even enough to be regarded as a small world. Emperor Lei Yan actually has such a treasure. When Nai Chen first saw the Thunder Ring, he didn't care too much. But when he integrated his spiritual power into it, he was a little surprised. There is not only an extremely large small world in the Thunder Ring. In this small world, dark clouds filled the air, and thunder flashed all the time. Each thunder contained infinite power, which made people daunted. It was rumored that the 10,000 thunders into one art was the true inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan. But Nai Chen clearly felt that the thousands of terrifying thunders in this small world seemed to be the crystallization of Emperor Lei Yan's life. As for the others, including killing Emperor Lei Yan and getting the wool from the Empress, he now had exactly 100 skill points. And got the chance to get the 3-hit combo and the White Feather Dharma again. The era when he had to owe the system skill points in the past no longer existed. Now Nai Chen was rich and walked with a confident step. When he came to the square in front of the statue of the Empress, Nai Chen's appearance instantly caused an uproar. After all, the fact that he killed Emperor Lei Yan with his own hands had instantly spread throughout the Tianyun Palace and the world. Such unimaginable glorious deeds have raised Nai Chen's image to a higher level. In the minds of all the disciples of Tianyun Hall, Nai Chen's current status and tall image are second only to the Empress of Qingyuan. Brother Nai, I am your fan, please sign for me. Brother Nai is awesome, my mother must be honored to be in the outer sect with Brother Nai. Brother Nai, I want to give birth to a baby for you. In the crowd, K. Ruling suddenly ran out. She had long understood that Brother Nai secretly liked her, and only when he saw her could Brother Nai sweep away his fatigue and feel comfortable. Brother Nai Chen, long time no see, Linger hasn't kissed you for a long time. K. Ruling pouted and flew towards Nai Chen. When did I kiss you? Nai Chen immediately supported her head, showing a respectful distance. Ah, Senior Brother Nai touched my head again, and his technique was even gentler than last time. I am so happy. K. Ruling became more and more obsessed, and wanted to get into Nai Chen's arms at all costs. Senior Brother Nai, don't pretend anymore. Linger knows that you like me secretly, but you are embarrassed to bring it up because of your dignity as a gentleman. But Linger is right in front of you now, Senior Brother Nai, don't you want to seize such a good opportunity? Come on, kiss Linger. Senior Brother Nai is shy, but Linger is not. Senior Brother Nai is not proactive, but Linger is proactive. Come on, Senior Brother Nai, kiss me. Linger's head and heart are all saying that I like you, Senior Brother Nai. Blasting dog head punch. Suddenly, Nai Chen punched out, hitting K. Ruling's pretty face. Swoosh, snap. K. Ruling's body drew a graceful arc and fell from the sky. Junior Sister Linger. Junior Sister Linger, be careful. Although K. Ruling came from the demon sect, she had a very good reputation in Tianyun Hall with her beautiful appearance and honest character. Immediately, a group of female disciples rushed forward to catch her. After finally catching K. Ruling, the female disciples' eyes instantly focused on Nai Chen. After a short silence, suddenly, a burst of enthusiastic cheers broke out. Wow, Senior Brother Nai actually punched K. Ruling away. Senior Brother Nai is so handsome when he doesn't care about beauty. Yes, facing such a beautiful junior sister Ruling, there is probably no man in the world who can do it like Senior Brother Nai. Senior Brother Nai is too manly. Senior Brother Nai is so bad, I like it so much. Senior Brother Nai, come and punch me. I want it too, Senior Brother Nai, come and hit me first. My face is softer than theirs, and it must feel more comfortable. Senior Brother Nai, please hit me. Nai Chen. He originally thought that these female disciples wanted to avenge K. Ruling. How did things suddenly become like this? Ding, the female disciples of Tianyun Hall have nowhere to vent because the Empress forbade love, which is extremely pitiful. The system hereby issues a task, and the host will personally fulfill their wishes. Mission reward, Tianyun Hall disciples' favorability towards the host *200 million. The mastery of the 10,000 thunders into one technique and the thunder ring has reached the great perfection. In that case, I will satisfy you. Hearing the mission issued by the system, Nai Chen was immediately full of motivation, punching hard, and using the explosive hammer dog head fist to the extreme. Ah, thank you, Senior Brother Nai, it feels so good to be beaten by Senior Brother Nai. Senior Brother Nai, give me 2 more punches. In front of the statue of the Empress, the female disciples were beaten away one after another. Seeing that Nai Chen seemed to only hit women but not men, many male disciples couldn't swallow this breath. Then, wearing women's clothing, she blended in with the female disciples and competed for the first punch. Nonsense. Seeing the chaotic scene in front of the Empress sacred elephant, Elder Li finally couldn't restrain himself and cursed angrily. When Nai Chen first started, I could see that he was not a good person. I didn't expect that now he would attack a female disciple openly and openly. How is this kind of thing appropriate? Upon seeing this, Elder Wan quickly advised. Lao Li, don't be angry. I see that all the female disciples are enjoying it. Maybe they did it voluntarily. Of course I know. Elder Li nodded angrily. Elder Wan was stunned for a moment, a little confused, then why, old Li? That's why I plan to experience for myself what's so mysterious about Nai Chen's fists. Suddenly, Elder Li took out a pink dress. Wait a minute, Lao Li, do you really want it? There was a bang in Elder Wang's head, and his body took a step back involuntarily. However, it was already too late. When he saw Elder Li's old wrinkled face covered in a pink girl's long dress, Elder Wang suddenly felt that he had seen something he should never have seen in his life, and he covered his eyes in pain. Ah, my eyes, my eyes. Senior brother Nai, I also want to punch you. At the same time, Elder Li grabbed his throat and flew towards Nai Chen, dragging his long pale pink skirt. Whoosh, bang. Amidst the loud noise, Nai Chen's punch was harder than anyone else's. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 115. You should have done everything I asked you to do. Looking down at Mu Xiling, who was slightly shivering, Chu Qingyu's voice contained a frightening coldness. This disciple has probably done it. Mu Xiling's voice was small and even trembling. Chu Qingyu frowned slightly. What do you mean by approximate? Because there are so many people who secretly admire senior brother Nai, I have no way of writing them down one by one. I can only record the general data. Mu Xiling's voice trembled slightly, as if she was afraid that Chu Qingyu would suddenly shoot her to pieces with a single finger. After carefully noticing that the Empress was not angry, she dared to continue. During this period of time, according to the records of the disciples, 137 female disciples secretly watched senior brother Nai take a bath, and 79 female disciples secretly sent love letters to senior brother Nai. There were 361 female disciples who had winked at senior brother Nai, and 629 female disciples had blushed at senior brother Nai. However, these should only be part of it. After all, there are still many things that disciples have not seen with their own eyes. You guys. Chu Qingyu was completely dumbfounded. She originally gave Mu Xiling the task to uncover several potential love rivals who had bad intentions for Nai Chen. What I never expected was that there were clearly hundreds of them. This investigation uncovered almost all the disciples of Tianyun Palace. How many female disciples are there in Tianyun Hall? If we really record the list one by one, I'm afraid there won't be a few people left in total. What about Nai Chen? How does he treat the female disciples who are interested in him? Chu Qingyu asked through gritted teeth. Mu Xiling quickly replied seriously, the Empress can rest assured about this. Senior brother Nai is an out-and-out gentleman. Even in the face of so many senior sisters, his Taoist heart has not been affected, and he has never accepted anyone's confession. Is that so? After hearing these words, Chu Qingyu's originally chaotic state of mind suddenly seemed to have been stabbed with a needle. I feel a little guilty. Unexpectedly, I completely wrongly blamed Nai Chen. Even in the face of the admiration of so many female disciples, Nai Chen was able to stick to his heart and reject them all one by one. Let me forgive you for now. Chu Qingyu snorted softly, feeling much relieved. But at this moment, Mu Xiling seemed to remember something, and continued. By the way, Empress, senior brother Nai decisively rejected all female disciples. But he also said that in the future, he would secretly watch him take a shower with one spiritual stone at a time, and let him pretend to be a boyfriend with 5 spiritual stones at a time. Don't miss this opportunity, first come first served. Okay Nai Chen, I can't spare you. Chu Qingyu stood up instantly, stamped her lotus feet angrily, and fell outside the hall. Hey, Empress, don't get me wrong, maybe it's just senior brother Nai who is short of money. Mu Xiling, who noticed that she had said something wrong, quickly followed. Outside the main hall. As soon as she found Nai Chen's location, Chu Qingyu saw a strange sight. In front of his holy elephant, Nai Chen used his fists to generate wind, specifically picking out female disciples and sending them all flying into the air in graceful arcs. What exactly is this? Chu Qingyu was a little confused. Mu Xiling said. Is it possible that senior brother Nai attacked many female disciples to show that he was determined not to be interested in Taoist companions? It seems, that's it. The scene in front of me seems to be the only way to explain it. Humph, I didn't expect him to know quite a bit about it. Chu Qingyu snorted coldly and arrogantly, and immediately, there was a hint of joy on her cold cheeks. But soon, she noticed something was wrong. Each of Nai Chen's seemingly random punches was not only light and heavy, but more importantly, there was an extremely mysterious aura lingering around it. It seems that with every punch, Nai Chen's understanding will be further improved. Each punch is more exquisite than the last, and each punch is more filled with mysterious atmosphere. This breath. At this moment, even Chu Qingyu had a hint of disbelief in her expression. She actually felt the unique aura of the enlightened body in Nai Chen's boxing techniques. But how is it possible? Hasn't Chu Ziyan, the only person in the world who possesses the true form of enlightenment, been killed? Bang! Then the body of the last female disciple flew out. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully relieving the pressure on the female disciples of Tianyun Hall. The mission is completed. The favorability of the disciples of Tianyun Palace towards the host is *200. The mastery of 10,000 thunder transformation techniques and the thunder ring has reached the great perfection state. Successfully caused strong mental damage to Elder Wang, and received a reward, skill point add 2. Nai Chen. He clearly remembered that the person he beat up was Elder Li, who was disguised as a woman. Why did he become Elder Wang and be mentally tortured? However, there are more important things right now. Emperor Lei Yan is a great emperor after all, and his lifelong inheritance is definitely not as simple as it seems on the surface. At the same time, Nai Chen obtained the 10,000 thunder transformation technique and the Dixulei ring, and Nai Chen faintly felt that there seemed to be an inexplicable connection between the two. After raising the control of the two to the state of Dzogchen, this feeling becomes even stronger. Without hesitation, Nai Chen threw the Sulei ring into the sky according to his thoughts. Immediately, he sat cross-legged and thousands of thunders surged from his body. This thunder is the 10,000 thunder transformation technique inherited from Emperor Lei Yan. Click. Strong lightning struck the Sulei ring, and suddenly, an aggressive aura burst out from the surface of the ring. The Sulei ring was suspended in the air, and a lake-like phantom quickly appeared on the ring. In the mirror, it was the small world inside the Sulei ring. Sure enough, only the 10,000 thunders can truly open the Sulei ring. Nai Chen's eyes condensed slightly, and his palm clenched towards the Sulei ring in the air. In the small world over there, the thousands of thunders flashing in the sky were like being summoned, rushing towards the intersection of the two worlds. Ding! The tens of millions of thunders accumulated in the small world can temper the body and help the host master the endless thunders in it. However, the host needs to be careful, doing so will be extremely risky, and it may even endanger the host's life. At this moment, the system reminded. High risk. Nai Chen glanced at Chu Qingyu, who was quietly watching him from a distance. With my wife here, no matter how dangerous the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan is, I can have an indestructible backing. Start tempering. Nai Chen said. Ding, the trial has started. The host is so bold, I will reward you with a lightning protection pill, which can resist thunder attacks to a certain extent. The system voice fell. With a loud bang, the thunder ring burst out with terrifying thunder. Its direction, it went straight to Nai Chen. In an instant, everyone's eyes were attracted, and they all looked at Nai Chen, who was bathed in thunder and looked like a god, in amazement. Share a little trick. Voice coding is very practical, but when reading names, it is difficult for the system to recognize uncommon names like Nai Chen and Mu Xiling. After thinking for a long time, I finally came up with a good idea. Read the protagonist as Ye Chen and the female character as Murong Shui. In this way, the names are easy to recognize, and then use the Word document to replace them uniformly. That is, sometimes I accidentally forget to replace them. How about it, isn't it smart? Hashtag, nervous face, hashtag. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 116. Every thunderbolt in the thunder ring seems to contain infinite power. More importantly, there are countless thunderbolts. The lightning that filled the sky seemed to engulf Nai Chen completely. Nai Chen, who had taken the lightning protection pill, had obviously developed a strong tolerance to thunder and lightning. He actually opened the 3 veins of the Suangu holy body at the same time and resisted with his physical body. Seeing a terrifying bolt of lightning strike Nai Chen, all the disciples in Tianyuan Hall were frightened. But they soon discovered that Nai Chen, who was directly carrying the thunder with his body, did not seem to be hurt at all. How is this possible? How did senior brother Nai do it? Even our Supreme Elder would never be able to withstand such a terrifying thunder with his own body. All the disciples looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. After the 2 Supreme Elders Wang and Li noticed Chu Qingyu's figure, they immediately said respectfully, "Empress, what Nai Chen is doing is extremely dangerous. Should we help? You don't need to interfere. Although the power of this thunder is extremely terrifying, if he can withstand it, he will get great benefits." Chu Qingyu frowned slightly and looked at the sky. Even if she was willing to believe Nai Chen, this level of thunder was indeed beyond what Nai Chen could handle with his current cultivation level. If any accident occurs, she will take action immediately without hesitation. "We understand, Empress." Elder Li and Elder Wang both bowed and nodded, but they still had some lingering fears. "But Empress, what exactly is this thunder? We have never seen such a terrifying thunder in all these years. These thundering thunders are likely to come from the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan." Chu Qingyu's cold voice came, causing the 2 elders to take a breath of cold air. Emperor Lei Yan. They naturally knew what a terrifying legacy an emperor who had reigned supreme for thousands of years would have. What's more important is that even the direct disciples trained by Emperor Lei Yan with all his efforts are completely unable to inherit his true inheritance. Nai Chen had never been exposed to Lei Yan Valley's skills. How did he understand the secrets hidden by Emperor Lei Yan? Such understanding is really unimaginable for them. Elder Wang could not help but lament in a low voice. Well, Nai Chen is not only favored by women, but his aptitude and understanding are terrifying, and he also has a beautiful girlfriend. Compared with him, the old man felt that his life was in vain. Elder Li asked curiously, "When did Nai Chen have a girlfriend? Why didn't I know?" "Hey, I accidentally talked too much. Just pretend you didn't hear it." However, when he spoke the truth after drinking, I did vaguely hear Nai Chen mention his girlfriend. But you must not let the Empress know about this kind of thing, otherwise. You, Empress. You, Empress. Elder Li and Elder Wang were frightened at the same time. In the middle of speaking, they turned around inadvertently and suddenly noticed that Chu Qingyu was standing quietly behind them. "It's over, it's all over." Elder Wang said with a sad face, "Empress, I am the one who talks too much, I shouldn't talk nonsense. I beg the Empress to punish me, but little friend Nai Chen is innocent, so please punish me alone." Everyone in Tianyun Palace knew that the Empress hated Taoist companions the most. For exposing Nai Chen's girlfriend in front of the Empress, even if he were an elder, he would not be immune from punishment. "Well, I happen to be in a good mood today, so I won't punish you." Unexpectedly, Chu Qingyu coughed lightly and said, "However, you must tell me the story carefully. For example, how did Nai Chen describe his girlfriend?" Elder Li and Elder Wang were both stunned. They never expected that such words would come from the Empress' mouth. When he heard that Nai Chen had a girlfriend, not only did he not punish him, he even asked about Nai Chen's girlfriend. Is this still the Empress? Although doubts continued in his heart, Elder Wang did not dare to let go of this opportunity to atone his sins, and quickly replied. Empress Qi, my friend Nai Chen and I drank a little too much that day, which resulted in some blurred memories. But I generally remember that when it came to his girlfriend, Nai Chen seemed to be full of praise. The impression I have on this old man is that Nai Chen's girlfriend is as beautiful as a fairy, gentle, sweet, and charming. Well, that's it. I never thought that Nai Chen would dare to violate the rules of Tianyun Palace and have a girlfriend. Well, this emperor will definitely punish him. Despite the appearance, the corners of Chu Qingyu's lips inadvertently raised with pride, and that extremely happy smile seemed to be a duplicity at all. What happened to the empress today? Why do you feel so happy? Elder Wang's mind was in chaos and he was completely stupid. After all, even the elders like them would never dare to offend the empress. But today. Boom. At this moment, a thunderclap with a more terrifying sound diverted Elder Wang's attention. During the period just now, Nai Chen had already withstood hundreds of thunderbolts. But this thunderbolt had 9 twists and turns, was lavender in color, and exuded a power that was far different from the previous thunder and lightning. I didn't expect that the inheritance of Emperor Lei Yan actually includes the 9 revolutions of thunder tribulation. Nai Chen finally became completely serious and punched out, directly colliding with the 9-turn thunder tribulation. Boom. Even the aftermath of the 9-turn thunder tribulation was enough to make the disciples of Tianyuan Hall who were watching retreat several steps. They could not imagine what the result would be if they faced such a 9-turn thunder tribulation. I am afraid that they would have been blasted to ashes. At this moment, Nai Chen seemed to be uninjured except for his clothes and hair tips being slightly charred. He was even more motivated and faced the sky. Is this brother Nai? Even if such an opportunity was given to me, I would not be able to bear it. Is brother Nai still a human? This is not in line with common sense. Thunderbolts came down one after another, but were all dispersed by Nai Chen's punch. At this moment, it seemed that the thunder ring also began to think. It did not continue to scatter and thunder meaninglessly as before. The endless thunder gathered at the intersection of the two worlds. Brewing again. The thunder of the entire small world seemed to have gathered at this moment. What he was waiting for was a fatal blow. Oh no, Emperor Lei Yan seems to have a trick up his sleeve. If this goes on, no matter how strong Nai Chen is, he can't bear it. Elder Li and Elder Wang exclaimed at the same time, and even Chu Qingyu stared at the Su Lei ring in the sky, ready to attack at any time. But at this moment, Nai Chen's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and a mysterious aura swept around his body. He realized that is the true body of enlightenment. How is it possible? Nai Chen is actually the true body of enlightenment. At this moment, everyone was shocked. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 117. Although the thunderbolts that came down one after another pushed Nai Chen's body to the edge, it triggered the terrifying comprehension of the enlightened body at the critical moment. Understand the way of 10,000 thunders. Boom. The thousands of thunders formed by Emperor Lei Yan's lifelong inheritance and the mysterious aura exuded by the enlightened body merged together, suddenly emitting huge aftermath and spreading to the surroundings. This aftermath was too powerful, with a mighty sense of oppression, and spread to 1,000 miles in just an instant. This is the breath of the true body of enlightenment. All the major sects, forces, and dynasties within 1,000 miles of Tianyun Palace were horrified. All the monks looked up at the dark clouds gathering in the sky and the Tianyun Palace that exuded this powerful and terrifying aura. Just by relying on his true form of enlightenment, Shu Xian, who was once regarded as a waste, was suddenly regarded as the most arrogant son in the world. But now, not long after the news of Shu Xian's murder came out, a second enlightened body was actually born in the world. More importantly, the mysterious aura wafting out was far better than Shu Xian's. I am afraid that this person who was born in Tianyuan Palace and possesses the true form of enlightenment has far more understanding and qualifications than Shu Xian, reaching an unimaginable level. Who is it? A second enlightened body has actually been born in the world. I didn't expect that someone from Tianyuan Palace would be able to bear the true form of enlightenment. I'm afraid that in less than 100 years, Tianyuan Palace will be even more powerful. What Nabe? Originally a first-class demon sect, the demon cultivators who had barely dared to shout with Tianyuan Palace in the past were now looking up in the direction of Tianyuan Palace, with fear in their hearts and fear in their eyes. Sect Master, what should we do? What else can be done? The voice of sect leader Du Shenduo was a little trembling. The true body of enlightenment is born, and with the inheritance of the empress, in less than 100 years, Tianyuan Palace will have another emperor-level powerhouse. Now, the only way to save your life is to surrender. Liuguang Temple. Many eminent monks have long forgotten the precepts of eating fast, chanting Buddha's name, and not admiring wealth. Master Fenwen, the abbot of the temple, looked at the mysterious aftermath spreading in the air, his eyes shining brightly. Tianyuan Palace has given birth to an enlightened entity with even more terrifying qualifications and understanding. If there is another empress to teach him, the future will be limitless. All the inner disciples immediately followed me to congratulate me. I am not following the trend, but I want to take you there to congratulate me sincerely. Why did Tianyuan Palace suddenly have an extra enlightened body? The news spread everywhere instantly. There is fear, envy, and unwillingness. All the major forces could not hide their surprise, but they made decisions at the same time. Now is the best time to show your loyalty to Empress King Yu. More importantly, they wanted to see with their own eyes who was carrying the true body of enlightenment. All forces from all sides hurriedly headed towards Tianyuan Palace. In a short time, many monks gathered on the horizon of Tianyuan Hall. However, everyone was shocked when looking at the scene in Tianyuan Palace. Thousands of thunderbolts thundered down from the small world in the Sule Ring, and in each thunderbolt, there seemed to be endless power that could destroy the heaven and the earth. But Nai Chen, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes slightly and showed no fear. Lightning thundered down from the sky, and his whole body was bathed in the endless thunder. Not only was he unscathed, but a mysterious aura was floating around his body. It is as if these thousands of thunders are born from the Tao and follow the Tao. Thousands of thunders follow their course. The lavender thunder light almost completely enveloped Nai Chen, and a steady stream of awe-inspiring oppression swept around him like a huge wave. Even some monks in the sea-opening realm felt chills in their hearts and couldn't help but feel a little fear. Is this really the true form of enlightenment? In other words, no one has ever been able to exert the true strength of the enlightened body before. In comparison, the shocking Tao that Shu Xian once understood was nothing more than a joke worth mentioning. Unexpectedly, it was Nai Chen who realized the true form of the Tao. Nai Chen's reputation has long been known to all forces, but the scene now has completely engraved it in their hearts. Before he awakened to the true body of enlightenment, Nai Chen's strength and qualifications were already terrifying. Now that he has the true body of enlightenment, wouldn't it? After killing Emperor Lei Yan, another Nai Chen has emerged who has realized the true form of Taoism. Tianyuan Palace is destined to prosper. I really can't imagine how terrifying Nai Chen's next practice will be. I'm afraid, looking at ancient and modern times, even those powerful emperors who have set foot in the immortal realm, there are very few who can compare with them. It's a pity that the Empress has no interest in Taoist couples, otherwise I would even think. Don't talk nonsense. If the Empress hears it, do you want your life? Amidst the bursts of exclamation, although they did not dare to speak out, many people actually had a ridiculous idea in their minds. Before this, No one in the world was qualified to be the empress. But if Nai Chen is given hundreds of years. However, Empress Qingyu's state of mind must have been as unshakable as a rock. The search for a Taoist companion can only be a beautiful talk in their imagination, and it will never be realized. Empress, all the surrounding forces have come to worship, and more monks are coming. If this continues, the news that Nai Chen has the enlightenment body will probably spread all over the world. Elder Wang hurriedly approached Chu Qingyu and whispered, "It's okay, let them come." Chu Qingyu looked up at the sky with cold eyes. Elder Wang was puzzled. "Empress, what do you mean?" Chu Qingyu smiled slightly. "Since it will be known to the world sooner or later, why not let the world know Nai Chen's name from now on?" "I understand." Elder Li nodded immediately, but his heart was surging. "If you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight." The Empress did not choose to let Nai Chen hide the fact that he had realized the true body of Taoism, which was equivalent to taking the risk of being coveted by the world. This is enough to show the Empress's trust in Nai Chen. I am afraid that within a few hundred years, Tianyuan Palace will have one more emperor. And the title of this emperor is destined to be Nai Chen. At the same time, as if all the power was condensed, the last thunderbolt came down in the small world of Yugzulaja. Thousands of thunders merged into one place, and the light transformed into the purest white. But it was in this white lightning that there seemed to be an endless sense of terrifying oppression. Boom! An incomparable roar echoed over the Tianyuan Palace. Instantly, a strong wind blew and smoke and dust scattered. Around Nai Chen, a huge pit was created by the thunder. Everyone looked at him in astonishment. But in the annihilation of the lightning, Nai Chen slowly opened his eyes. There was a flash of lightning in those eyes, which was terrifying. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 118. Ah, such strong muscles. Ah, such a strong body. Ah, so big. Just when everyone was amazed at the mysterious scene of Nai Chen comprehending the supreme thunder method with his enlightened true body. As the last lightning struck, Nai Chen's clothes began to fall slowly because they could not withstand such a powerful thunder. Instantly, the female disciples watching burst into a burst of fanatical exclamation. Pairs of eyes were completely locked on Nai Chen's falling clothes. Soon, we will see it soon. Mu Xiling and the female disciples around her seemed to be shining in their eyes. But at this moment, she suddenly felt a figure blocking her way. "Hey, don't block me, I still want to see senior brother Nai." Completely concentrating on Nai Chen, she impatiently pulled the figure in front of her. "Get out of the way, we are still looking at senior brother Nai, and we will see it soon." The female disciples next to her were also a little angry. "Oh, strange, such a perfect figure, and so soft, is there any female disciple in Tianyuan Hall who is older than me?" But suddenly, Mu Xiling, who realized that the body in front of her seemed a little strange, raised her head suddenly. Instantly, she was stunned. Her face was immediately filled with fear and terror. The faces of the female disciples beside her were instantly frightened and pale. They were shocked to find that the one who blocked their view was none other than Empress Qingyu. He coveted senior brother Nai Chen's body in front of the Empress, and asked the Empress to get out of the way. Isn't he tired of living? Mu Xiling was frightened and burst into tears. "Empress, I really didn't mean it. I didn't push you away on purpose. Next time, I will definitely secretly watch senior brother Nai taking a bath, and I will never do it so openly." Huh. Noticing the chill that suddenly emerged from Chu Qingyu, Mu Xiling, who was overly frightened, was completely panicked and said nothing. No, what I mean is, next time when my sisters and I secretly watch senior brother Nai Chen taking a bath, we must bring the Empress with us." "No, I..." Noticing that she seemed to be asking for death more and more as she spoke, Mu Xiling covered her mouth with a sad face and dared not say another word. But this time, seeing that Nai Chen's clothes were about to turn into ashes and fall down, Chu Qingyu ignored Mu Xiling and others. She stretched out her hand and shook it in the direction of Nai Chen. Instantly, an opaque light completely enveloped Nai Chen, completely blocking everyone's sight. What a sin, who did it? That's too much, do you have any ladylike spirit? Damn, I almost saw it. The female disciple sighed and looked at the source of the light with a little anger. But in an instant, they became cowardly. Empress Qingyu took action personally, who dared to say a word. Especially the female disciples of Tianyun Hall, they all avoided their eyes, fearing that the Empress would find out that they were peeking at Nai Chen just now. Watching Chu Qingyu control the light and slowly placing Nai Chen in the bedroom, the many monks who came here finally relaxed. Especially the male monks, all of them secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If they really saw this, perhaps the excessive inferiority complex would affect their own Taoism. What a close call, what a close call. At this moment, Master Fenwen, the abbot of Liuguang Temple, stepped out of the crowd and bowed his hands respectfully. Greetings to Empress Qingyu, congratulations to Tianyun Hall for having a disciple with the true body of enlightenment. I am afraid that in less than 200 years, Tianyun Hall will have one more emperor. I would like to congratulate the Empress on behalf of the entire Liuguang Temple, and would like to lead the monks of Liuguang Temple to submit to Tianyun Hall. As soon as these words came out, the four were shocked. Although many forces rushed to Tianyun Hall as soon as possible, it was to show their loyalty at this critical moment. But they did not expect that this group of monks in Liuguang Temple, who usually eat vegetarian food and chant Buddha, and say that they are not interested in fame and fortune, would be so eager to take the lead in expressing their position. Since this is the case, they dare not hesitate anymore, otherwise, the opportunity they have finally seized will be completely lost. I am willing to represent the entire Qingxia Palace and express my submission to Empress Qingyu and Tianyun Palace. My daughter is willing to lead all the disciples of Yongxuan sect to express her submission to Tianyun Palace. Dushan Duo is willing to let the disciples turn over a new leaf and only pray to be able to rely on the mountain of Tianyun Palace. For a time, many sects expressed their opinions. Seeing this scene, the disciples and elders of Tianyun Palace were all secretly happy. These sects are cunning and treacherous, and they are all soft fence-sitters. In the past, they would never express their submission to any emperor, but would only follow the wind according to the direction of the wind. But now, Nai Chen killed Emperor Lei Yan and showed the terrifying power of the true body of enlightenment. Finally, these sects have completely determined their ideas and unanimously submitted. Well, in this case, Tianyun Palace accepts your dependence. Chu Qingyu looked around coldly, and everyone bowed their heads and stood, not daring to show any disrespect. The power of the emperor, like frost, pressed down on the surroundings coldly, making these forces more aware of how terrifying the power of Empress Qingyu had reached. Thank you, Empress. Thank you, Empress. Well, let's discuss the rest later. Next, I have to heal Nai Chen's injuries first. At this moment, Chu Qingyu suddenly said coldly. Everyone was stunned at the same time. Although they were glad to be the first sect to submit to Empress Qingyu. But they did not expect that Empress Qingyu, who was rumored to be cold to everything, would pay more attention to the physical problem of a disciple than accepting the submission of major sects, which was an important matter that could even affect the overall situation of the world. Perhaps, it's because Nai Chen is the true body of enlightenment. Maybe, but why do I always feel something is wrong? It seems that it's not because of that disciple, but that the Empress seems not as cold as before recently. Are you sure? From the information I have obtained from all sides, the fact is indeed so. Hiss, is it possible? Impossible, absolutely impossible, no matter how much you think about it, it's just a random guess. After all, that's the Qingyu Empress. Old you, I heard that there is a unique secret method passed down from the ancient emperor in your sect, which can observe other people's marriages. Why don't you take a sneak peek at the empress? Forget it, I also think it's impossible. Old Yu shook his head hurriedly. What if? And if you don't use it, do you have to eat dust with your ancestors' unique secret method? This. Okay, then I'll give it a try. After thinking it over again and again, Old Yu finally agreed. With his unique secret method covering his eyes, he secretly looked at Chu Qingyu. But suddenly, Old Yu's body suddenly froze, his expression full of unbelievable horror. What's wrong? What did you see? Noticing his extremely strange expression, everyone asked hurriedly. The body of Empress Qingyu is full of red marriage lines. There was an unconcealable tremor in Old Yu's voice. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 119. Gradually waking up from the darkness, Nai Chen suddenly felt a cool feeling as soft as a catkin in his chest. Following this slightly intoxicating coolness, he seemed to hear the sound of a hot heartbeat. Nai Chen couldn't help but reach out and grab it in the direction. So soft, such a big conscience. No, what is this thing that feels so good? Suddenly realizing that something was wrong, Nai Chen opened his eyes abruptly, but found that he even pinched it inadvertently, and it was. Hey, wife, listen to my explanation, this is an accident. Nai Chen quickly withdrew his hand with an embarrassed smile on his face. But he soon found that Chu Qingyu was not angry, but stared at him with a hint of heartache. Don't move, lie still. Although you have refined the thunder method with your enlightenment body, your body strength cannot withstand such a powerful thunder. You are seriously injured now, and you must inject a lot of spiritual energy as soon as possible to stabilize it. Chu Qingyu put her hand on Nai Chen's chest with some distress, intending to transfer spiritual energy. Haha, my wife, you really still care about me. Nai Chen supported his body and half sat up, laughing triumphantly. Didn't I tell you not to move? What if you hurt your meridians? Chu Qingyu held him down with a frown. Nai Chen smiled playfully, no, I haven't seen my wife's beautiful face for more than 10 minutes. I really can't bear to lie down without watching it up close. You. It's time, and you only know how to say these hypocritical words. Although Chu Qingyu said this, she gently lifted the hair at the temples, unable to hide the joy in her heart. I, Nai Chen, am a man of 7 feet tall. How could I possibly lie to my wife? Then what do you want to do? The thunder in your body that was forcibly suppressed is now agitated and riotous. If you don't inject a lot of spiritual energy in time, it is likely to damage your foundation. Chu Qingyu was obviously a little anxious and worried. What I want is of course. Nai Chen smiled slightly. Doesn't the riot in my body need a lot of spiritual energy to suppress it? In addition to transferring spiritual energy with hands, there are other ways. Other ways, what other ways can there be? Chu Qingyu was confused, but suddenly noticed Nai Chen's gaze towards her lips. Instantly, she swallowed her words, and her cheeks flushed instantly, like a late blooming flower, hiding behind the green leaves and not daring to show her face. Don't worry, my wife, I am very weak now, and you are the only one who bullies me. This. Okay. Then treat it as healing for you. This emperor, reluctantly agrees once. Nodding and agreeing to such a thing in person, Chu Qingyu felt full of shame. Wife, you are so considerate. Don't talk. Then I won't say anything. I know you are anxious. You. Spiritual energy continued to flow into Nai Chen's body like a trickle. The spiritual energy from Empress Qingyu was not only extremely huge, but also extremely pure. Each stream of spiritual energy contained a very mysterious and slightly fragrant breath. It flowed into Nai Chen's body and soon suppressed the turbulent breath in his body. All the chaotic spiritual energy that resisted was easily destroyed like a dead tree and rotten wood. These spiritual energies repaired Nichien's body and even greatly improved his physique. However, the spiritual energy from Chu Qingyu began to become more and more disordered. And as time went by, it changed from a cold and icy feeling to a somewhat rapid and hot one. Because Nichien's physical strength was gradually recovering, and he even began to take the lead. After an unknown period of time, the two finally separated. Chu Qingyu covered her mouth lightly, her heartbeat accelerated, and she stared at Nichien with some resentment. Nichien smiled, "Hee, wife, you didn't expect that this husband's skills have improved by leaps and bounds. Humph, if this emperor wasn't in a bad state today." Chu Qingyu stamped her feet lightly, never expecting that as a great emperor, she would actually lose to Nichien in kissing. She actually went from being evenly matched to being restrained later. If she continued just now. Since your spiritual energy has recovered, you should rest well first. This emperor still has to go to deal with the affairs of the major sections. Chu Qingyu snorted lightly, and her dress swept through the fragrant breeze, and flew away from the bedroom. Hey, my wife is good in everything, but she is too shy. Nichien smiled and sighed, and moved his body. At this moment, he was surprised to find that not only was his body fully recovered, but his spiritual energy was also abundant, as if he had endless energy. You know, he didn't use any healing techniques of the system just now. This is the spiritual energy from Empress Qingyu, the effect is really amazing. This is just a kiss to my wife, if... Nichien shook his head, not daring to imagine. More importantly, with his current small body, I am afraid he may not be able to bear it. Seeing Chu Qingyu's return, all the major sects expressed their loyalty and submission again, and many sects even swore an oath on the spot or signed a contract. Chu Qingyu nodded in agreement and promised to protect them in the name of Empress Qingyu. So far, there are more than 100 sects attached to Tianyun Palace. While the major sects swore allegiance to Tianyun Palace will also protect and bless them. However, each sect also made a request. That is, they hope that Nichien can go to their sect to preach in the future. Everyone knows what terrible heights Nichien will reach in the future. On the surface, they are asking Nichien to preach the Great Way, but in fact, each sect hopes to seize this opportunity to please Nichien in time. I heard that Nichien is very interested in using swords, and my Jianzhong mountain happens to have a 1,000-year inheritance. As long as Nichien comes to Jianzhong mountain to preach, I will definitely teach him the top-secret swordsmanship passed down by the ancestors, and ensure that Nichien will become a true swordsman. Let Nichien come to our Yongsuan sect first. The female disciples of our Yongsuan sect are more beautiful than each other. Maybe after Nichien goes, the empress will have an extra disciple and wife. The leader of the Yongsuan sect just finished saying this, but suddenly felt a sharp and terrible chill coming from Chu Qingyu. Although she didn't understand what she said wrong, she was so scared that she trembled all over and immediately shut up. Thank you for the favor from the empress. I would like to establish a 100-year friendship with the empress on behalf of the Holy Land of Bones. At this moment, a voice instantly shocked everyone. The Holy Land is a mysterious and huge force inherited from the ancient times. Each Holy Land has its own pride and is unwilling to succumb to anyone. No one expected that even the Holy Land of Bones would now surrender to the Empress Qingyu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 120. Looking back, the Holy Land of Bones has indeed not seen a great emperor for nearly hundreds of years. But even if it is a period of transition, there has been no great emperor for hundreds of years. As one of the ancient holy places, the heritage and heritage hidden in the Holy Land of Bones are enough for them to maintain their past arrogance. No one thought that the Holy Emperor of Bones would choose to surrender on his own initiative. Perhaps, this is the majesty of Empress King Yu. Oh, Holy Land of Bones. But what's the benefit of accepting your surrender to me? Chu Qingyu stared coldly at the person with a white bone skull hanging on his left shoulder, who was the holy envoy of the Holy Land of Bones. The Holy Land of Bones is willing to open the Senluo Forbidden Land to all the sects present. As soon as these words came out, the four were shocked. Everyone stared at the holy envoy from the Holy Land of Bones in disbelief. The Senluo Forbidden Land is the top secret place of the White Bone Holy Land, and it contains countless inheritances of the Holy Land. How could the White Bone Holy Land open it to the public? Although it seems to be to gain the trust of the Queen, this is really. Unexpectedly, Chu Qingyu agreed calmly at this time. If you can open the Forbidden Land as agreed, this Emperor can accept your surrender. The White Bone Holy Land is willing to open the Forbidden Land to the Queen and all the affiliated sects of the Tianyuan Palace today. The White Bone Holy Envoy immediately bowed and replied. Far beyond everyone's expectations, the Senluo Forbidden Land seems to be really about to be opened. After a long time, all the major sects said goodbye and left. Different from the direction of others, several people including Yu Lao quietly walked to the distance. Almost reaching the gate of their own mountain, Yu Lao finally met the eyes of several people around him, nodded knowingly, and stopped. Master Yu, are you sure what you said is true? Master Fenwen, the abbot of Liuguang Temple, could not hide his astonishment and stared at Master Yu. Jianzongshan sect Master Zhang Yu and Zhou and Jingkushan sect Master Li who also showed an expression of disbelief. What did you see? Old Yu was silent for a moment, and finally said in a trembling voice. I saw with my own eyes that the Empress was wrapped with red lines symbolizing marriage. More importantly, although this marriage line looks extremely large, there is only one line when you look closely. Hiss. Several people took a breath at the same time, and Master Fenwen asked puzzledly. I am in the Buddhist sect and don't know the symbol of this marriage line. How does Old Yu interpret it? Old Yu seemed to be in shock, and he observed the surroundings tremblingly. After a long time, he finally answered. If the red lines wrapped around the Empress come from multiple lines, it means that there may be several people who love the Empress at the same time. Such a marriage line is difficult to have a result, but it is just the excessive one-sided lovesickness of those male monks, and it will dissipate in a short time. But now, the countless marriage lines tightly wrapped around the Empress are only from one. This probably means that the person who came from that marriage line has a strong bond with the Empress, and even the Empress has an indelible love for him. Old Yu looked at the few people, obviously still not recovered from the shock. Think about it, the Empress is ranked second in the alluring book, how beautiful and extraordinary she is. Even in the whole world, there is no woman who can match the beauty of the Qingyu Empress. It can be seen that although the Empress is cold and arrogant, and not tainted by the mundane, there are many people who secretly admire the Empress. But now, this red line has dispersed all the complicated marriage lines that are looking at the Empress, and is tightly entangled with the Empress. This is enough to show that the bond between this person and the Empress is already deep beyond our imagination. This feeling is not one way, even the Empress loves that person very deeply. As soon as these words came out, the three of them couldn't help but take a breath at the same time. Old Yu's analysis was flawless, and there was even a secret method from his ancestors to prove it. So, the Empress really had a lover. This time it was not a rumor at all. If it was someone else, maybe it would be nothing. After all, everyone has 7 emotions and 6 desires, even the great emperors and strong men are the same. There are not a few great emperors and strong men who have Taoist partners, or even multiple Taoist partners at the same time. But the problem is, this is the Qingyu Empress. She was the King Yu Empress who once wrote the theory of the uselessness of Taoist partners and was cold and arrogant. Since she became an emperor, no one dared to approach her without authorization. Anyone could choose a Taoist partner in a moment, but the King Yu Empress was the one they could not believe the most. However, let's not talk about whether it is really possible that the Empress was moved by a thought and had someone she loved. If there really is such a person, who is he? The voices of the three people were trembling slightly. I have been thinking about it for a long time. Old Yu was silent for a moment, and finally said firmly. First of all, I think Nai Chen can be ruled out. Why did old Yu come to this conclusion? The three of them looked at each other with admiration, marveling at old Yu's terrifying insight. This is naturally simple. Old Yu stroked his gray beard lightly, and seemed a little proud. I have already analyzed it sharply. There are too many reasons, and it is enough for me to just say one point. Over the years, countless people have pursued the Empress. Among them, there are countless handsome, rich, and talented people, but no one can impress the Empress. It is enough to show that these 3 points that are most valued in the eyes of ordinary women are actually minus points in front of the Empress. And Nai Chen has almost fully fulfilled these 3 points, and even has an extra shamelessness. Even if he awakens to the true form of enlightenment today, no matter how he thinks about it, it absolutely cannot be him. So that's it? As expected of Mr. Yu, such superhuman thinking is beyond our reach. Master Fen Wen, Zhang Yu and Zhou and Li Hu all exclaimed in admiration and were filled with admiration in their hearts. But if it's not Nai Chen, who else could it be? Of course this old man also has some guesses. Mr. Yu hesitated for a moment and said deliberately, mysteriously and cautiously. I guess it's probably, the Saint of Prosperity, or Shen Kongshuang. The three of them were stunned at the same time. No, Mr. Yu, you must have guessed wrong. How is this possible? How is it impossible? The Empress has been single for so many years, so of course there is probably a problem with her gender orientation. Even this is absolutely impossible. All right. After a long silence, Mr. Yu finally sighed and said. In this case, I have another way. As he spoke, he took out a spiritual grass from his arms. Although this looping tonic herb is not as good as the legendary Dragon's Roar aphrodisiac pill, each one is extremely effective. If the Empress really has a Taoist companion, then this person will definitely try his best to ask me for this herb. When the time comes. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 121. However, how exactly does Master Yu plan to test the great ringing tonic grass? Of course it's simple. The Senluo Forbidden Land is full of undead spirits and dead air. I can just disguise myself as an undead spirit. When the time comes, I can tell the passing monks about the efficacy of this grass and observe their expressions. In this way. Ha ha ha, you are worthy of being Master Yu. This plan is simply perfect. Master Yu is awesome. However, can you give me one of this grass? Brother Yu, my Taoist partner has been complaining about me recently, so I, cough. Let me make it clear in advance that I am a serious monk. I just want to study this magical herb. Even Master Fen Wen shamelessly stepped forward to beg. Elder Yu hesitated with a little distress. This grass is extremely precious, so at most one can be given to each person. One is fine. Deal. Long live Brother Yu. Brother Yu, I'm determined to be your friend. The ancient heritage of a holy land has reached a point that is enough to drive countless cultivators crazy. You know, each holy land has a long history, and at least several great emperors have worked together to build the holy land. It is so difficult for people outside the holy land to obtain such a mysterious heritage. Therefore, this time the White Bone Holy Land opens the Senluo Forbidden Land to the Tianyun Palace, which will be an opportunity that cannot be missed. If you can have an adventure in it, even if you only receive a little grace from the great emperor's heritage, it will be enough to benefit anyone. Because there is no restriction, the people who go to the Forbidden Land this time include not only the most qualified disciples of the Tianyun Palace. There are also several supreme elders and disciples of the Xingluo Palace, and even Shen Kongshuang goes together. The 12 Xingluo palaces are like shields scattered all over the world to protect Tianyun Palace. The strength of the top disciples in Xingluo Palace is not inferior to those selected from Tianyun Palace. Especially the 3 Senluo palaces led by Shen Kongshuang, the 5 girls who came with her are particularly eye-catching. So beautiful are they, the 5 sisters called the 5 hairpins of Nanling. Wow, they are really worthy of the name, one more beautiful than the other. Many Tianyun Palace disciples exclaimed in a low voice, and their eyes were uncontrollably attracted. These 5 sisters are not only beautiful, but more importantly, they have gentle personalities and often have a calm smile on their faces. The 5 hairpins of Nanling. Nai Chen was slightly curious and asked Duan Mu Yang beside him. By the way, what are the names of these sisters? Brother Nai, don't worry, I know this. Duan Mu Yang patted his chest confidently and replied. Of these 5 sisters, the eldest sister is named Nanjin Chai, the second sister is named Nanyin Chai, the third sister is named Nan Tong Chai, and the fourth sister is named Nan Tai Chai. Sure enough. Nai Chen had already expected the naming method of this genius. No, what about the last one, why didn't you say it? The last one. Duan Mu Yang paused for a moment and smiled awkwardly. Of these 5 sisters, I think the 5th sister is the most beautiful, but her name is not as good as the other sisters. Nai Chen, what's her name? Nan Titanium Hairpin. Nai Chen, good fellow. When the 5 sisters saw Nai Chen inadvertently, their eyes lit up instantly, and they immediately passed through the crowd and surrounded him. Brother Nai. It's you. I've admired Brother Nai's reputation for a long time. I never thought that I would be able to see Brother Nai's face in person one day. I'm so lucky today. The 5 sisters were obviously very happy. Brother Nai, Jinner has admired you for a long time. Brother Nai, Yinner is the same. Brother Nai, Tonger is the same. Brother, Titanium Alloyer is the same as the sisters. The 5 sisters look similar, but each has its own style. They surround Nai Chen and make continuous voices. While arguing with each other, they inadvertently cling to Nai Chen, and feel a soft feeling. Damn it, Brother Nai again, why is it always Brother Nai? And 5 at a time, at least leave Sister Titanium Alloy Hairpin to me, Brother Nai is too much for eating alone. The male disciples next to him all looked at the scene with tears in their eyes. The 5 sisters continued to surround Nai Chen affectionately, expressing their admiration. Especially the most charming eldest sister Jin Chai, who even deliberately showed a charming gesture and moved closer to Nai Chen. She blinked her long eyelashes and said tenderly. A man as outstanding as Senior Brother Nai must have seen many beautiful women. But Senior Brother Nai must not have tasted sisters like us, right? Taste? Your words are a bit dangerous, are you sure you dare to continue? Ignoring Nai Chen's dissuasion, the 5 sisters moved closer and closer, and their behavior became more bold. But at this moment, they suddenly felt a chill on their backs. This chill was so cold and terrifying that in an instant, they felt like they were falling into an ice cave, as if they were about to be swallowed by endless frost. The 5 sisters were startled and quickly took a step back. Looking behind them in astonishment, they found that the gaze that just swept over them seemed to come from the Empress. Why did you find such a group of disciples? Chu Qingyu pinched Shen Kongshuang's shoulders and smiled unkindly. The Empress asked me to find some high-quality disciples, but I don't know. Shen Kongshuang retreated aggrievedly. She always felt that the Empress was different recently. These beautiful female disciples and Nai Chen were having a great time together. What a wonderful scene. Why did the Empress reveal a sour feeling? Forget it. Chu Qingyu gritted her teeth. These 5 disciples, one by one, must be thoroughly checked when they come back, in case something really happened. He. The opening of the Senluo Forbidden Land will be a rare and great opportunity for you. Although the Forbidden Land is full of various dangers, don't be afraid while ensuring safety. Only by being enterprising can you have the opportunity to reap the fruits. Let's go, do your best to get opportunities in the Senluo Forbidden Land. Accompanied by Chu Qingyu's cold voice, everyone responded with high morale. The spirit ship floated up, and most of the disciples sat on the spirit ship and sailed to the Holy Land of Bones. Haha, only the poor people would ride this kind of broken spirit boat. Look how majestic my mount is. Duan Mu Yang laughed wildly and rode his cloud horse in the air. But at this moment, a beautiful green light flashed. The 5 sisters of Nanling rode on the blue phoenix bird and flew by in a magnificent manner. In an instant, Duan Mu Yang's momentum was completely suppressed. Tisk, isn't it just a blue phoenix bird? I can afford it? Duan Mu Yang was just halfway through his words when a dragon roar sounded and golden light flashed. Suddenly, Nai Chen rode a dragon and took off. Duan Mu Yang.